Hey guys, Spencer here from Info Moto, and today I'm riding the new Triumph Bonneville Speedmaster. Now I only picked it up a couple of days ago, but I feel like I know it intimately already, and there's a pretty good reason for that. I spent the last 3 months riding the Bonneville Bobber, which is very similar to this bike. It has the same 1200cc twin, and frankly, most of the important parts are exactly the same. But while the Bobber made me feel like a gangster, the Speedmaster makes me feel like a king. Here's why. So if you just jumped off a Bonneville Bobber and went onto the Speedmaster, the first thing I'm sure you'd notice are these big wide and round bars. You don't see bars like this much anymore. It kind of makes me feel like, you know, Willem Dafoe's character in that Wes Anderson movie. I'll edit in some context. You'll also notice the foot forward controls and the sculpted seat, and all that translates to is a really comfortable cruisery seating position. It really is super comfortable. It's upright and just what you'd expect from a highway cruiser. That seat's actually new. It's got a new lumbar support pad, and the pillion seat's 11mm thicker, and it's got a big grab rail, so rest assured both you and your partner will both be comfortable. I love the character of this motor. It feels exactly the same way as the Bobber did, for good reasons. It's 57 kilowatts and 106 newton meters. It's the same donk they use in the T120 Bonneville and its variants, though the Bobber and the Speedmaster get a different tune, so it's more punchy off the bottom, and you do feel that. This bike feels, and the Bobber feels faster than it is because of how low that torque comes in, so makes it a lot of fun. I think I might have said the exact same thing on the exact same corner when I was reviewing the Bobber, but oh well. So yeah, the Bonneville range got an update for 2021, which was reasonably mild, but I'll go through the changes. There's new LED lighting. The Speedmaster's got bigger shower forks and a preload adjustable MOTO shock hiding under the seat. It's also got a different dash unit, which gives access to 2 rider modes, road and rain, which adjusts the engine mapping and traction control. That's basically the important stuff in terms of technology. This thing doesn't have a highly sophisticated electronic suite. Doesn't matter so much because it's not got a massive motor that you need to control the power of. I'm sure the next update will bring an improved electronic suite. We've got twin 310mm discs with two piston calipers, a Brembo setup. They work reasonably well, not incredible. They're not bad enough that I'm willing to call them a negative, but there could be room for improvement there. It also handles reasonably. The suspension's soft, it's set up for comfort. You know, I remember a few years back seeing an overseas so-called journalist riding this bike, and you're saying like, oh, it punches above its weight, you can keep up with sports bike in the twisties. Man, don't believe the hyperbole. This is a cruiser. It does what cruisers do. It cruises, and that's fine. And I think the Speedmaster does a great job of being a cruiser. But, you know, be careful who you listen to, because there's some people out there that don't know what the hell they're talking about. At the end of the day, you know, this thing is a 263 kilogram motorcycle, which is about what you'd expect from a cruiser of this type. And it doesn't feel too heavy, but I think you would want to be a reasonably experienced rider to hop on this. It's got a 705mm seat height from memory, which should mean shorter riders should have no problem getting on this, but inexperienced riders might want to look at something else, because it is a big bike, and you know, big bikes get you in trouble if you don't know what you're doing. It's also got a 12-litre fuel tank, which should give you, I don't know, 250 kilometers of range or so. I straight up adored riding that Bobber. It was a real attitude bike. But I'm surprised at how much the fun of the Bobber translates to the Speedmaster. You know, it feels so similar in its aggression and playfulness. So really, I think if you're deciding between the two, it's going to come down to how much practicality you need out of the bike. The Bobber's got a single seat, so sorry, no pillion. If you're going to have pillions, get the Speedmaster. If you need to strap a lot of luggage down, get the Speedmaster. If you want to do 300-400 kilometre days and still have a working arse at the end of it, get the Speedmaster. If you want to look like the sickest you know what in town, get the Bobber. That's probably as best I can put it. I don't think that's what it says on the Triumph brochure, but what I meant when I was saying, you know, the Speedmaster makes you feel like a king, it's really this seating position. I feel like King Arthur on his throne, you know, telling people what to do. The big glass of mead. It's got, like, you know, lovely big levers like you'd expect from a cruiser, and thick grips. You know, they're like, would you say, concaved grips. You know, I feel like I could do seriously long days on this motorcycle, and I just might. We've been in and out of lockdown for what feels like 1,000 years here in Victoria, Australia. Thankfully we got some reprieve, and I'm going to make absolutely most of it and spend as much of that as I possibly can on a motorcycle, because you don't know what till it's gone. One thing I think Triumph and BMW are probably the two key players here when it comes to attention to detail. I love the way that, you know, Triumph includes these little nods here and there, and you'll find that sort of stuff all around the bike. And I think when you spend some time with the bike and you start to notice all those little touches, that's why you remember that, you know, you pay more than you do for the Japanese equivalents. It reminds you. I don't think this bike's exy at 21,890 right away. I think that is about where it should be, but you know, it's more than $20,000, and I think Triumph are aware of that, and so they give you a bit extra. They look to the details, and I really appreciate that sort of stuff. Makes you, it extends the life of the bike in terms of your appreciation for it, even long until updates of the bike have come out and so forth. So it begs the question, which would you have, the Bobber or the Speedmaster? Let us know in the comments section below, and stay tuned for much more at infomoto.com.au.